It looks like Ethereum may have its own Michael Saylor. And for all of you Ethereum bag holders like myself, this is exactly the news we needed, because honestly, Ethereum has not been performing well this cycle at all, any way, shape, or form. And it's been upsetting. It's been upsetting. And I know the XRP army is like, Wendy, XRP is not pumping. Guess what? You guys had a absolutely phenomenal run from like 40 cents to like $3. We haven't. The highest we've pumped was like $4,000, which is last cycle's all-time high, and we couldn't even break above it. And we can't even break above like $2,500. It's freaking crazy insane. Welcome back to the O Show. Everything crypto every day. I'm WendyO. Make sure you smash a like, subscribe, set alerts. We've got some XRP news. We've got Ethereum news. We've just got so much news today. I can't even keep track. And on top of it, Bitcoin 2025 was amazing. And I apologize, I wasn't able to stream every day while I was gone. It was really busy. Like, we were super busy. It was crazy. So I tried to give you guys daily updates with that. Also, too, shout out to Fat and Bankrupt. Fat and Bankrupt said that they said that Powell had a speech, yes, and Mixing said it was a big nothing burger, nothing really exciting happening with that. But shout out to all the channel members, shout out to Mr. R and to Mr. D, and let's go ahead and get into it, because there's a lot that we need to talk about. Okay. And I know everybody's not happy with Bitcoin price action. We'll get back to that in a minute, but one thing I need to tell you guys is we got a massive monthly close. Okay, so we'll talk about that later. Let's get straight into Ethereum. Okay, first and foremost, before we talk about the Saylor, the Ethereum Saylor come in. And when I say Saylor, I'm talking about Michael Saylor, the MicroStrategy strategy Bitcoin guy that continues to add Bitcoin to the strategy balance sheet. What they do is they issue debt and then they grift it that way. So we're getting that for Ethereum. The difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin is that Ethereum has a infinite supply, from my knowledge. But they've got the burning that they do. Anyways, Bitcoin is a finite asset, which makes it a little bit different. And somebody in the comments the other day was like, Wendy, you're becoming a maxi. I don't like it. Guess what, guys? I love altcoins. Altcoins have helped me immensely. I love trading them. I love holding them. As far as I'm talking about long term, Bitcoin is an asset to me that I can hold long term and have less risk. A lot less risk with that. Okay. Altcoins, I love them. I trade them. I keep moonbags. The reason why I keep moonbags is so that if the project ends up doing well later on, I'm going to be okay. So I have equal love and respect for altcoins and Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is a different asset for me. Also, good morning to Julie and gorgeous Alexandra. Okay, let's get back into it, because we got a lot of stuff we have to cover. And a Sparkwater too. So this is a little clippy clip with, from Vitalik, apparently at ETH Prague, or Gleef Gold Prague. He says, Vitalik says, Ethereum will scale layer 1 10 times in a year, then take a breather before the next leap. And we're going to talk about the bullish news about it being added to a treasury, a gaming treasury, which is important. I'll explain why. But I want to go through this and kind of give you guys a foundation. So he says Ethereum layer 1 will scale 10 times within the next year. The next upgrade aims to increase block size, improving efficiency for layer 2s. After upgrade, there will be a pause to assess decentralization and network health. Vitalik emphasizes scaling safely without compromising decentralization. Let's talk about this a little bit, and then we are going to get into the gaming company that's going to be buying Ethereum. So this, by Vitalik wanting to scale the actual layer 1, this is saying I made a boo-boo. We should have been focused on scaling layer 1, not focusing on layer 2s. And I never understood why they would want to focus on layer 2s, because layer 2s are supposed to be a solution for an Ethereum, not to help Ethereum. So why would you be focused on something built to essentially improve your product when you can just focus on something to actually build your product yourself? It doesn't make sense to me. So basically, we've got Ethereum stepping up, Vitalik stepping up. They want to be more like Hedera. They want to be more like all the other layer 1s, Avalanche, Polkadot, you name it. Okay, Solana. That's what we got. That's good. That's positive. Those are good fundamentals. Now, price wise, why? And again, I'm an ETH bull. We got to get that $10,000 Ethereum. this here. Ethereum's own sailor SharpLink Gaming plans 1 billion Ethereum purchase. SharpLink is gaming. Let's talk, before we get into, shout out to Stray Dog, before we talk about Ethereum 10 timesing, why I think it's going to go to the moon, whatever that may be, we're talking about gaming. Vitalik created Ethereum for gaming as a solution in gaming for NFTs, all that type of stuff. That wasn't probably like, but basically he created Ethereum. He's like, this sucks that I'm playing World of Warcraft and I cannot own my asset. I can't own it. Once the game is over, I don't get to own it. And that's what NFTs are supposed to do. And now we have RWAs, all of those things, all of those things. So the fact that we have a gaming company that is immensely bullish on Ethereum is good for fundamental wise, primarily because that's initially one of the reasons why Ethereum was created, and because this person is seeing some good in Ethereum, and now Vitalik's talking about actually scaling the layer one, the actual Ethereum itself. So, U.S. sports betting company SharpLink Gaming. Still gaming, filed to offer up to $1 billion in stock to buy Ethereum for its treasury. They launched an Ethereum-based treasury strategy on May 27th, and I believe there was originally $250 million. I think it got brought up to $1 billion. Joseph Lubin, one of the consensus guys, was also recently named chairman of the board. Community calls SharpLink Ethereum's Michael Saylor. This, perfect to me. This news, along with Ethereum staking ETFs, perfect. This is setting up for a massive bull run for Ethereum. And I'm hoping so. Again, I'm a little bit delusional because y'all know I got a big bag of Ethereum. But at the end of the day, I'm here for it. So we love this. This is great news. Now, let's go ahead and talk about JP Morgan, because you know JP Morgan's got to be ghetto and come in here and say stuff. So JP Morgan says Ethereum's recent upgrades haven't meaningfully boosted activity. You want to know why they haven't meaningfully boosted activity? Because there's other layer ones that all of these traditional financial institutions can use. They don't need Ethereum. So the market cap increase likely driven by institutional interests, the ETFs. Pectra improved staking efficiency and withdrawals, but that doesn't really help the institutions. Institutional long positions rising in CME ETH futures. ETFs seeing limited inflows compared to Bitcoin. Daily transactions and active addresses are flat because people are using other chains. And Ethereum fees declining to layer 2 adoption. That's why Vitalik is focusing on the actual layer 1. E-supply has increased post-Dencom upgrade, raising inflation concerns, and JP Morgan expects Bitcoin to maintain dominance over Ethereum through 2025. Yeah, no crap. We know that. Everybody's focus is on Bitcoin right now. Pakistan, Russia, every single country is creating their own Bitcoin strategic reserve. Now, this comes from Mr. James. He says the SEC sent a letter seemingly to looking to stop those staked ETH and Solana ETFs. Will be an interesting saga to watch in coming days and weeks. So there is a letter over here that we are going to cover because, again, we want to be able to allow any crypto that is POS that gets a spot ETF. We want those staking rewards, because why get an ETF when you can just go ahead and buy it yourself and stake it yourself? So the SEC says Ethereum Solana staking products from Rex Financial and Osprey funds may not qualify as ETFs. They question whether the products qualify. They said the funds may have been improperly registered, and SEC flagged potentially misleading disclosures in the filings. They warned it may take further steps if issues remain unresolved. So basically what this is they're not saying, no, we're not going to approve Solana and Ethereum staking ETFs. We need you to fix some things. So fingers crossed, that's exactly what is going to happen. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some price action, because that's why you guys are here. Bitcoin had its highest monthly close in history. Highest monthly close in history. Let's go ahead and start with the naked chart really quickly. So we closed here at $104,609. $104,609. All-time high was $112,000. Now we are currently in red. The previous monthly closes, the highs were about $102,000. This is wonderful. Also, too, we did print a red dot on Market Cipher. Did print a green dot. So we could have a little bit of more upside here, but we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens. Now, taking a look at the weekly is looking a little bit bearish. We had our first red candle on the weekly since in 7 weeks. Okay, so a lot of people are a little frustrated, a little bit nervous. You know what? Let's get a dip. Let's get a dip back down to $93,000. You want to know why? Altcoins will nuke. If altcoins nuke, that gives you more time to accumulate whatever it is you want to accumulate. This is good. This is positive. Now, taking a look at the daily. Daily over here showing that we're really tried to hold on to 104,000. Even support over here at 102,000. My chart that I absolutely love over here, this is what I'm looking for. $102,000. And we've been able to sustain so far. Taking a look at the 4-hour chart, we're looking kind of like ping-pongy. So just as long as we hold 102, we're fine. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we had to move down to like 95,000, maybe even 90,000. We'll see. We'll see. Now, as far as Ethereum goes over here, we had a really nice move this is the 3-day. We don't want the 3-day. We want the daily over here. We had a really nice move up to almost $2,800, and then we fell. And we're kind of sustaining about $2,500. That's fine. We're kind of flat over here. So I feel like Ethereum is really trying to see which direction that it wants to go. One thing I will say is we've got quite a few swing wick lows that we've seen on the daily, and we continue to get pushed back up. So that's generally a good sign. Taking a look at Solana, Solana is looking a little bit more bearish than Ethereum, which is okay. We're not able to get back above 157. And it looks like we may retest 146. Bullish case scenario, be able to retain 157. Now, taking a look at SUI. SUI's fighting hard to get over 331 over here. We did print a local bottom, which is great. So hopefully we just sustain above 316 if we continue bearish price action. XRP fell below the trend line, and we're starting to retest. We're starting to retest and flip this area into support. So we'll see what happens. But again, I want to see us get above $2.23. Chainlink also dropped as well. We're kind of ping-ponging between 14 and 13. Cardano, which we've got some updates with that soon, and Litecoin, I believe, is really trying to reclaim and sustain 67 cents. HBAR Hedera is consolidating between 15 and 17 cents over here. Now let's kind of get back into some Bitcoin stuff. Meta says no to Bitcoin reserves despite mounting institutional adoption. Why is this important? Why does this matter? This matters because we're seeing almost every single company, all the heavy hitters, discuss adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet. Why have they been doing that? They've been doing that because you can essentially manipulate the traditional financial system, issue instruments to financial instruments to raise cash, which you could print, and then you could go ahead and buy that finite asset and take out debt on it. That's what you could do. So it's interesting that they're not ready to do it yet, but we'll see what happens. Now, since we're on the talking about it, Metaplanet just bought 1,088 Bitcoin for $117.3 million, and they're now holding a total of 8,888 Bitcoin. Another company that's been able to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Russia's biggest bank bets on Bitcoin with new bond offering. The largest bank, Cerberbank, launched a Bitcoin-linked structured bond. It tracks Bitcoin USD price and USD RUB exchange rate. The Bitcoin-linked structured bond lets investors earn returns based on Bitcoin price performance without directly holding it. It's only available to qualified investors, and they do plan to launch a futures on June 4th, which I think is pretty interesting. Interesting stuff. Now, we got a little bit of lore here from the Bitcoin conference. So today, Ross Ulbricht, founder of the Silk Road Marketplace, received 300 Bitcoin in his donation wallet. He also spoke at Bitcoin 2025, which I'm so happy that he's free. That was a promise that President Trump made, and he kept it. And apparently when they auctioned his card off, and it sold, I believe, for, someone says 5.5 Bitcoin. This other account says 11 Bitcoin. But basically, it sold for over $500,000, which is amazing. But back to this controversy here. There's a lot of, if you guys don't know who Ross is, I'm going to tell you who he is. Ross was the gentleman who created Silk Road. He was unjustly attacked because, you were able to buy and sell and do things on Silk Road. Road. I'm not going to talk about people's bad behavior and bad choices that they made on Silk Road. But what I will say is if you create a decentralized platform or you create a technology and somebody uses it for bad, you should not be held accountable for it. And that's also what we're seeing happen with Samurai Wallet folks and with Tornado Cash. And I got to shout them out too, because just because you create something and somebody uses it for bad, you shouldn't be held accountable for it. So there's a whole lot of, controversy about that. But he spoke at the Bitcoin conference. I did not go see. I've got a weird thing. I do believe people, when they get fresh out, they should essentially get space. They should essentially have space. So we'll see. Now, for our good friends over at Altcoin Daily, saw them. They spoke. Absolutely amazing. But they said, just in, SUI is about to surpass XRP in total transaction count. And I'm going to say something about this. This is not bad. This is not bad at all. The reason why, and again, I don't have the OG source, so I can't do too much. Into it. One thing I want to say is that there's a lot of SUI's kind of like Solana in a sense, where they have their meme coins, they can do NFTs, they can do all kinds of things. XRPL was always more so for like the TradFi system, more of a banker's coin, which is not a bad thing, but XRP has XRPL. So people still utilize it, but it's just not being utilized, I think, like a lot of these chains that people use for degen stuff. So I don't think it's a negative or I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. I just think it is what it is. It's not a bad thing at all. It's just kind of there. Now let's get into some Ripple stuff, because this one is a big one. Ripple is expanding its global footprint and accessing new customers with Ripple payments. Let's talk about where this is. So it's Unicambio, and they have integrated Ripple payments. It's one of Portugal's largest FX and money transfer agencies. Goal is to expand reach and offer efficient cross-border payments between Europe and Brazil. Ripple's B2B crypto-powered platform enables near real-time, transparent 24/7 payments. And the firms plan to adopt more Ripple solutions in the future. Ripple has so many different announcements that they have made and partnerships that they made with like Dubai and different heavy hitters. And again, we don't really know what's going to happen with Circle, if they're going to actually end up acquiring Circle or not. That's something I'm interested in. But honestly, this is wonderful news. And again, you're seeing Ripple do a lot more business and make a lot more partnerships overseas. And these types of partnerships and collaborations, the reason they take a long time to build, very, very long time to build, which is why we're not really hearing too much stuff out of the US. But again, I want to say their first crypto swap went live on Hidden Road, which I believe they acquired for $1.25 billion. But again, we'll start to see more big news coming from Ripple in the US soon. Very, very soon. But again, you have to understand they've been able to operate freely in other countries for such a long time. So this is great, wonderful, fine, fantastic. Now, this comes from Tap Tools, and they said Cardano to become interoperable with Litecoin via trustless ZK powered bridge. And that's a cool thing about ZK. ZK allows you to essentially partner with, or to essentially create interoperability with a lot of different chains, which is great. And again, I feel like the more chains you're able to communicate with, the better your project will do, the more options you could have. And, Litecoin is an old school project. Cardano is an old school project. We love it. We love it. Now let's go ahead and chat about our partners over at Hedera Foundation, because they're doing some cool stuff. And this was all just in 1 week. So 1 week on Hedera. Shout out to our partners over at Hedera Foundation. So Vera catalyzes measurable climate action and sustainable development outcomes by driving large-scale investment to activities that achieve them. The next one is going to be Dovo. But before we get on to them, they have 1 billion plus carbon credits issued, and they select the Hedera Guardian, which is amazing. And Vera Standards it measures climate, different aspects of climate, which is good. Again, got to take care of the environment, but you know. So Dovo is a platform for tokenizing and selling ecological credits, and they announced it's tokenizing 1.1 billion of carbon credits. And again, we talk about projects that focus on DeFi, AI, and RWAs. Hedera hits a lot of those bars. And then over here, the StegX platform connects with institutional investors with professional real estate managers to invest in traditional or tokenized real estate. And all three of these companies are using Hedera technology. And they're tokenizing 100 million plus worth of real estate. Real estate is going to be one of those things that's incredibly important to tokenize, in my personal opinion. Also, shout out to Griefer Operations for a fit check. All right, we'll do a little bit of a fit check. So, we've got the little blouse. We got the little blouse over here. And then I've just got some nice like little linen pants. So we got a little bit of a blouse that I like. It's nice and cozy. And then just like some little thingies over here. So I wanted to dress light today. But thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. I'm not going to eat out today because I made really delicious pasta yesterday. And I also started getting this Persian bread. It's very thin bread. It's called sangak. I don't know, sangak bread. I've been eating the thing like crazy, and it's got fiber in it for you, and it's like got sesame, so good, and it's got a little bit of protein. So I'm gonna be eating that today. I'm gonna be eating that like crazy. And I just took out a brick of cream cheese out of the freezer because I buy stuff in bulk from Costco and I freeze it. So I just took one out. So I'm gonna be eating that today, like this. All right, let's get back into the news. So shout out to our partners over at Hedera Foundation, and really big shout out that they are, all these big companies are utilizing Hedera for RWAs, DeFi, or AI. Now, this should not be surprising to you. DEXs hit record 25% share of spot trading volume against centralized exchanges in May. Nobody is using centralized exchanges. They're not, because why would you want to use a centralized exchange? When you can use a DEX for more privacy, maybe lower fees. I don't know. There's different reasons to use a DEX because nobody's interested in that KYC stuff. Nobody is. Because KYC, we got the whole planter thing, which we're going to talk about in a second video. I've got a whole regulation video of updates on different crypto regulation. We're going to drop at 2 p.m. PT. Make sure you guys watch it. It's going to be super important. I know it's not sexy. I'm not going to wear a sexy top for you, but it's going to be very important for you guys to watch it because it's going to give you just a concise update on all of that's happening with regulation, which it makes sense. Nobody wants to use centralized exchanges anymore. I don't blame them. Now, Mr. John Deaton had to talk about Mr. Paul Krugman. He's a hot mess, this guy. He said by 2025 or so, it will become clear that the internet's impact on the economy has been no greater than the fax machines. And he was incredibly wrong about that. So people like to troll him a little bit. But basically, he called crypto a criminal enterprise in a new article, claims stablecoins have no real use, only betting criminals, criticizes crypto lobbying influence. And the reason why we're talking about him, even though he's dumb, is because just because these people with money, just because these people with influence say things, doesn't mean you need to follow everything they say. Hear what they say, but do your own due diligence. If anything, stable coins are going to end crime because you can track all of them. And if anything, people use cash for bad stuff sometimes. Now, Chairman French Hill today introduced the Clarity Act, a bipartisan bill which will establish a regulatory framework for digital assets in the U.S. So once the Genius Act gets approved, we are going to be getting the different crypto acts. So basically, it aims to unify federal regulation under the SEC and crypto, defines key terms like digital commodity, investment contract asset, and stablecoin, offers a 4-year safe harbor for primary token offerings under 75 million if the blockchain is mature. That I like. So basically, this is allowing companies to come in that have been operating for a while, just as long as they're legitimate. And they get a safe harbor. Then secondary trades would be exempt from securities laws. So basically, all crypto, just like XRP is not a security on the secondary market. That's what that means. So again, that's why that case was so important. CFTC gets oversight of spot trading, custody, and brokerage of digital commodities. Crypto ventures must register with the CFTC and join a self-regulatory organization. Bank-regulated stablecoins are exempt from commodity rules, and crypto intermediaries must comply with the Bank Secrecy Act. Next stop is for the bill joint committee markup before full House vote. The reason why that's bad is because they better make sure to leave out decentralized exchanges. Because if they consider a crypto exchange or a DEX a crypto intermediary, that's not good. Then we also have Santander. They weigh that crypto push with early stage stablecoin plans. Basically over here, they're talking about exploring euro and dollar denominated stablecoins. It's Spain's largest bank, and they have prior blockchain involvement, including a Ripple investment. So they were that big bank that invested in Ripple. Shout out to the XRP army. What else? Oh, so let's talk really quickly about the market. Really quickly about the market for y'all. Okay. So a U.S. appeal court reinstates Trump's reciprocal tariffs. Basically, there was a big drama over the weekend that happened. And there was a big drama over the weekend. They're like, the court was like, no, we're not going to allow tariffs. But then it got overturned. So that's another reason why the market is not performing, why a lot of people are how people expect it to, primarily because of these tariffs. Because again, we've talked about this in lots of different shows. Tariffs are the ones that are moving the markets right now. You could have the most bullish news. Ripple or XRP could be literally RLUSD could be the CBDC or the digital dollar of America, and it wouldn't move XRP price, primarily because everyone is focused on tariffs right now. Okay. The court basically found the tariffs didn't address the threats cited in the orders, and shortly after, the Court of Appeals reinstated the tariffs. Trump also says that China violated its trade agreement with the U.S. He claims he made a fast deal to help China, but they broke it. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent confirms trade talks are stalled, which is not really good, because we want to get the trade stuff over with China. Because China needs us, we need them. We buy from China. China makes money from us buying from them. Also too, Scott Bessent says the U.S. will never default as the July debt ceiling deadline nears. I want to talk really quickly about this story over here. So let's talk about it. Oh, here. I'll come back to this in a second. This is why we're not going to default. Well, we've been defaulted. The reason why we're not going to default is we can print more money. So what these people are doing is, and even this administration too, I don't like stablecoins. All I think that stablecoins are going to do, they are going to essentially allow for a digital dollar. They're going to turn into a CBDC, and it's going to be a great reset of the system. So they're basically going to move everything over, erase some of the debt, but all the new debt that's created, or even the old debt that they move over, our kids are going to be responsible for. So we're never going to default, because at the end of the day, American taxpayers are always going to forfeit the bill, no matter what. And that's why Bitcoin is so important. That's why finite assets are so important. That's why crypto is so important. You want to be able to make as much money as ethically and, of course, legally as possible before they completely screw everything up. Well, they've already screwed everything up. Also, too, hedge funds bought tech stocks last week at the fastest pace in at least a decade. Why are we buying tech stocks? Well, we have AI. This doesn't say what tech stocks they are, but the reason why people want to get involved with tech is because that's a sector that will semi be safe even with AI, because AI will be integrated to all that type of stuff. So anyways, just kind of a recap of the show. Ethereum finally has its own Michael Saylor buying Ethereum, and they're a betting company, essentially part of gaming. Hello. Ripple is doing big stuff. I want to say it was Portugal. It was doing some stuff over in Portugal over there. Was it Portugal? Let's make sure. Yep, Portugal's. Yeah, so Ripple Payments has been integrated into Portugal's largest Forex and money transfer agencies. And then in 1 week, Hedera really just made massive partnerships with different RWA, AI, and DeFi platforms with Vera, Dovi, and StratX. So that's the show for today. Catch me at 2 p.m. PT. I got a video for you with more crypto regulation, basically everything we missed last week. It's going to be a short, concise video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later on today.